Hey everybody, great to have you back here in the fish tank. Now a quick update for Minion Masters. We're going to talk about the upcoming PTR, the public test realm. It's theoretical, unfortunately we don't have our chance to have our hands on the new cards and the changes, but we're going to look at the new cards in theory and the changes and have a little bit of a think about whether we like them or not. Remember, you can, and I will put a link in the description, have your own chance to have your feedback. Let the devs know what do you think about the new cards and the balance changes, and anything else with regards to balance in the game. And of course they will take that on board before we get to the final balance changes that will make it into the 2.3 patch. Now, so as always we have the two new cards, and we've seen this lady, we've seen her in the news in the game, and she is Nazara the Cold Countess, and she comes with a new keyword. So 6 mana, ground minion, 450 health, speed of 5, damage 70 every second, so 70 DPS. It's pretty strong damage. Remember, a cleaver does 60 DPS. She does true damage. She has the new vampiric keyword, and that means that she will heal for 20% of the maximum health of minions that she kills. Remember, she's only a single target attack, so when she kills something she'll heal for 20% of the max health of that minion, up to a maximum of 100 per attack. So that's the new keyword. She also comes with an ability, and that's the Frost Nova ability, where she freezes nearby ground minions, doesn't slow them, costs 1 mana, and it's an instant cast. Now remember, frozen lasts for 4 seconds. She does true damage, so she can still do her maximum DPS against any frozen targets. And of course, as always with the abilities, it starts at X mana. This time it starts at 1 mana, and then it costs you 1 more each time you use it. I still think there is unfortunately the bug in the game where you can end up with the abilities just stuck in your deck rather than the minion, so hopefully that'll be something that's fixed between now and then, otherwise she will likely suffer from that. I think that basically happens if you use the ability as the minion dies. Okay, so she's probably going to be a legendary, I should think. And the second card is the Frost Fang Familiar, and this is kind of a Haunting Hugger but in reverse. It's like a good Haunting Hugger instead of a bad Haunting Hugger. So it costs 3 mana. I'm not sure about how much HP it has, but one assumes it'll be similar to the Hugger. It's a flying minion. It has no attack, speed of 5, but it haunts the nearest friendly minion. So I assume that's going to be like the Haunting Hugger when it hugs an enemy. This is going to be the haunt, the hug, for a friendly. And when it hugs that friendly, it will buff it. Upon the hug completing, and I assume it takes a small period of time for that to happen, that friendly minion will cast Frost Nova, which, as we've seen from Nazara, will freeze everything nearby. Additionally, it gives the unit that it's haunted, I want to say hugged, but haunted, it gives it vampiric. So again, we've just seen that keyword where it heals for 20% of max health, or when it kills something. Now, that's interesting, because remember, Nazira is a single target unit, but the Frostfang Familiar could hug and buff an AoE minion. So its attack could kill a lot of stuff and then potentially give it a big heal. And I think that's why we have that maximum 100 per attack as the maximum healing per attack. Now, also like the Haunting Hugger, when the haunted minion dies, the Frostfang Familiar then respawns from the corpse, and it will look for another friendly minion to hug. So, interesting new cards. Always nice to see a new keyword, vampiric. Wonder if that'll spread out to other minions, anything in the future, because sometimes we see these cool new keywords, and they're always just on 1 or 2 units, and then we just end up with thousands of keywords. It's always nice when they get reused a lot in different ways. So those are the 2 new cards. Seems okay, difficult to say without actually trying it. Nazara seems like it's going to be decent damage, but only 450 health. We'll see how that works out. Now, as always with the new patch, we have the balance changes, and these are the proposed balance changes. So they're not the final ones, these are the proposed. So what's happened, we have this proposal, then we get feedback, and then we get the finalized results. Right, so let's have a look at the buffs first of all. Mountain Shaper. Mountain Shaper's in a very bad state at the moment. They're trying to get it to be played. If you follow my meta videos, we'll put a link up here for you, you'll probably have seen that Mountain Shaper tends to be unplayed when we look at leaderboard decks over the last season or two. So they're going to reduce the mana down to 7 from 8 and reduce the damage a little bit from 80 to 75. Remember, that's the damage per charge, and you can have up to 10 charges. The problem with Mountain Shaper is it's much smaller area compared to what it used to be. Also, I haven't really seen it or used it, but I wonder how reliable the knockback is. Because we've seen in the past it can knock stuff and then miss it and then knock stuff forward. You know, you need to be, if you're using this damage spell, you want to be getting the maximum. You want it to be reliable of what you're trying to kill. Troubadour, small health increase. Doesn't really change too much. Demon Warrior. This is quite a substantial buff. And remember, once the Demon Warrior is spawned for the 5th time. Is it the 5th or the 4th? I remember now. She gets twice as big and twice as strong. So this is her base damage, which will be doubled from her 4th spawn, right? Used to be 6th, now it's 4th. So they kind of changed her to be less of a win condition on her own. But now she's getting buffed a lot, getting back kind of towards that. But that's still big damage. 220 damage a hit when she's big. Could be strong. Okay, now we get into some kind of confusing bits with regards to this. Now, Rampant Growth needs something. You very rarely see it, right? Rampant Growth is the spell that consumes the shrooms and heals the target. Also does the knockback and the stun. But one of the main issues with balance in the game at the moment is buffs, faction buffs, things like the Growth Burst Shroom, with regards to how easy they are to generate and get compared to how huge the buff is. You know, we see so many decks with Blue Golem and Bounceberry Flingers. Because of that. Similar thing with the Revelry and the Stout Hearts. So these cards, some of these cards definitely need a bit of love, but more shrooms are just going to add to an already existing issue, I think. So we see here, Rampant Growth plants 3 shrooms. We've got, oh, just a reminder, this is, the shrooms are planted on draw, not when you use the card. So they're planted when the card enters your hand. Now, Jungle Jumble, mana going down from 3 to 1. I mean, it doesn't really change much. That just means you're saving 2 mana over the entirety of the game, because you only use that card once, and then it gives you the random cards from the Zenshi faction. But again, it gives you cards with Growth Burst Shrooms, so more Shrooms could be entering the sort of the zeitgeist. Shaw's Rack Twins, just an underplayed card, needs some love. Can't really buff the individual units because they're probably okay. Already has Rage. Can't reduce the cost of it because that'll be too much of a buff. So it just gains Invoke, which, I mean, you could argue is worth 1 mana, but, you know, it depends what it invokes. Remember, Invoke is where it replaces a Voidborn card in your hand with one that is 1 more valuable, but keeps the old cost. Right, Stormy, attack speed going up from 3, or going down, so this should be attack cooldown, 3.5 to 3, so it attacks more quickly, which seems like a buff, but Zeus, our resident Stormy expert, suggests that with it attacking more quickly, it makes it more difficult to heal it, and heal it enough to keep it alive. So whether that's from a priestess, or from a healing shrine, or whatever, if it's attacking more quickly, you have less time to heal it between attacks, because remember, it does that self-damage. So this could be, depending on how you play it, could be a buff, but it could also backfire. Bats, bats, bats! Mana going down from 4 to 3. So that means it costs you less for the spell, and then you have more mana to generate the bats, because you get 1 bat per mana spent during the next 5 seconds. So that could be quite a substantial buff there for the bats. Priestess, range, and I believe this is healing and damage range, going up from 8 to 10. Doesn't change too much, keeps her out of harm's way a little bit more. Remember, she's very slow, so this kind of means that she can catch up to a unit a little bit more quickly, because she can range, she can heal it from further away. Clear skies. Master healing going up from, minion healing going up from 250 to 300. Remember, that's all minions, friend and foe, and same with master, but master healing going down. So master healing dropping, minion healing going up, and also it removes debuffs from friendly minions, and there's something else I want to say there, but I'm not sure. Oh yeah, so it removes debuffs from friendly minions and buffs from enemy minions. That's it. Okay, Shadow Whelp, damage going up a little bit from 50 to 60, and of course you get that damage multiplier when it comes out of stealth. So a bit of a change there for Shadow Whelp. Again, just an underplayed card. Mountain Gale, it's going to last longer. I believe the healing is the same, just over a longer duration. I assume they would have mentioned if the healing was increased. So that means that you'll get the same heal over a longer period of time, so the heal per second will go down. But of course you get the slow for an extra second on the enemies. Now, big change here to Rage in Reinforcements. So this is a spell, previously was 4 mana, used to give you the raged Dragon Whelp, or the Warrior, or the Crossbow dudes, I think. So now it's going up to 7 mana, but the stuff it can give you is completely different. You get 1 Brother of Light, so that's not a Shield Guard, not a Brother of the Burning Fist, that's a Brother of Light, which is half of the Brothers of Light, the 10 mana card. Or you get 2 Warriors, or 8 Crossbow dudes, but they all come with Rage. Not really sure what the catalyst behind this change is. Sometimes we get these PTR forms where the devs have quite a lot of sort of developer comments to give us an idea of why these things are being changed and stuff, but nothing unfortunately in this one. So big change, and as we had a discussion with this the other day, 7 mana card, now it can be potentially played within your ritual decks if you're not going for like a super heavy ritual deck, and then this gives you some extra options with regards to bridge grab, or just fill in some gaps that your original ritual deck with the big units might not have been able to deal with. So that's an interesting change there. Spirit Infusion, I feel like Spirit is already pretty damn strong. Remember, it got buffed in the last patch, so minimum Spirit is 100 HP, regardless of what it's on. And they're suggesting that Spirit Infusion now gets 4 spirits instead of 3. It's over a longer period of time, but that just means that you just still get the spirits at the same rate, 1 every 2 seconds. Not a massive fan of that, because even on small units, 100 extra health is, pretty substantial. And then again, we have a Healing Fireball, Zenshi, Growth Burst, Shroom edition. So Healing Fireball will get a Growth Burst Shroom, so it'll plant 1, not when you use it, but when it enters your hand. So just more shrooms, and I feel like it's just exacerbating the issue that we have with shrooms and how easy they are to get. And because remember, back in the day, there was the Jade Flingers, which had the shroom, and the Flingers were not great, but people would play them because it had the shroom. And then they changed the shroom to the Bounceberry Flingers, which was a decent unit on its own. Now it has the huge benefit of having the Growth Burst Shroom, and it's a Myriad card, so you get 2 shrooms per cycle for having 1 2 mana card in your deck. I feel like that really kind of caused a bit of an issue with that card. There's been suggestions about removing the Shroom from the Myriad copy, something like that, just to try to rein the power of that card in. Shroom Puff. Oh, let's just give you Shrooms more quickly. Speed of 8 instead of 6, so it gets to the bridge more quickly and can generate more puffs. Resonating Construct. This is just an attack damage increase, which will be in line with the damage that the rest of the resonating stuff does. The Blast Crystal does 120 now, etc. And remember, the Construct does have an AoE attack. Small, but still there. Ting Tang Tang, going up from 270 to 300 health. Don't hate that. Ting, we don't see Ting too often, so not disappointed with that. Shruma Mashumi, always worried to see buffs to this card, because it can be really, really strong. I've definitely had some 2v2 matches against it where it can be very, very annoying. You need to make sure your deck has a lot of AoE to handle it. Damage going up from 70 to 85. It's quite substantial. But the health isn't being changed. The percentage isn't being changed. So if they're going to buff something, I'd probably prefer this thing to be buffed than anything else. Blast Monster. The Destinate damage going up from 25 to 35. That's when its target dies and it then does that AoE attack. I mean, Blast Monster's pretty strong. It's going to do what it does, just a little bit differently. But do a little bit more damage overall. Healing Shrine, the health going up from 50 to 100, so that doesn't really change anything. It'll last the same amount of time, it'll heal the same amount. It's just, it'll be a little bit more, a little less fragile. Crossbow Clubhouse, that's the new card from this current season. So the attack speed going down from 0.8 to 0.7 seconds. And the health going up a little bit. So remember, that's the one that effectively has 3 crossbow dudes inside, and then when the building dies, they then spawn. I kind of like it because the attack is basically now effectively a third of a single crossbow dude. There's 3 of them, so it kind of makes sense. The HP, I don't hate that. One thing I don't like is it has the same range as a crossbow dude. They're in a clubhouse, they're kind of raised up, you think they would have extra range. That's something I'd prefer to see. Right, so nerfs. King Puff. King Puff's very strong, but I don't think it's his auto attack that really makes him that strong. They're proposing to reduce the damage of his auto attack from 75 to 60, but increase his attack cooldown, his attack speed, reduce his cooldown from 2.5 to 2.3 seconds. So he will be better at dealing with small units, but worse at dealing with big units, so it's just kind of replacing one with the other. Hypnotize, mana going up from 3 to 4, but you gain an extra Slitherbind. One thing I'd like to see with Hypnotize is for them to change the way the targeting works, because the way the targeting works on a Hypnotize unit, it will target a random friendly in-range minion, and that can lead to some weird stuff. If it targets an in-range friendly minion that isn't hypnotized, then you can just see these things chasing each other and doing nothing. So I would like, if they want to buff it, I would like to see them just to make it prioritize the closest minions, prioritize hypnotized minions, so that you can you get a, you know, it's less RNG. You know what you're going to get when you use it, and you're not going to have these awkward situations where you just get basically no value out of it. Snake Druid's getting hammered a bit recently, so the range going down from 8 to 6. Speed went up in the last patch, which makes it less valuable because it doesn't hang around. It's awkward to play into. If it's faster, it gets into harm's way more quickly. So not sure about that. That will change certain interactions, like the Snake Druid probably won't be able to solo kill a Nearvir anymore, which you can argue against or for. I do feel like the Snake Druid shouldn't have a permanent route, but I'm not sure what the best solution for that is. Spear Throwers, for some reason, getting hammered again. Their attack speed went, I think it was 1.5 originally, then it went up to 1.7. Now they're suggesting it to be 1.9. What did the spear throwers do to anyone? I mean, it's just a nerf, but do they need it? Right, Caber Tosser. Meta. Dominated by the Caber. Mana going up from 6 to 7. Remember, in the last patch, lost the ability to rage with Revelry the Caber. So that was quite a substantial nerf. 225 damage down to 150 with the Caber. Now the mana going up to 7. I don't hate this, because when you think about it, you've got a Woodsman at 5 mana, and then you've got a Caber Tosser, which is a Woodsman with this Caber that can do 150 damage for 1 mana more. So that seemed like really, really valuable for 6 mana. So I can see why that's going to 7 mana. They're basically just saying that AoE removal is going to cost you 2 mana. Hopefully it will be in a healthier place. Again, we spoke earlier about how easy it is to get buffs compared to how strong they are. Revelry is another one of those. Just play 2 units next to each other. Done. We had suggestions about maybe if you place units next to each other, only one of them should get the buff. Just because, you know, you're not really spending any more mana, and you're just getting 2 raged units just by playing them next to each other, which you probably don't hate to do anyway. Blood Imps, attack cooldown going up, so their DPS is going down. Don't necessarily know if it needs it. I feel like we don't see Blood Imps too much. And Cage Prowler health. So this is the health of the cage, which is going down to 300. So that means at the moment you have to do 100 damage to stop it spawning. Here it is going to be only 80 damage. So that doesn't really change too many things with regards to spells hitting it. But it does change how susceptible it is to minions attacking it. Not sure if it's needed or not. But that is it. Okay, so those are the proposed changes. A couple of new cards to kind of mull about, new keyword, and we've got a bunch of balance changes. So I'll put the link as always in the description to this form so you can read it at your leisure and hopefully give your feedback. Let the devs know what you think about these changes, because the community feedback can really change how these changes end up in the game. When I make my patch notes video, I receive a list of the changes, the buffs, the balance changes from the devs, and a lot of the things are highlighted that have changed since this, and that's changed based on primarily the feedback of the community. So let's have our say. That's pretty much all I want to cover today. I know minions, we know that we've discussed this to death about 2.0 being really kind of bad, and it's getting better, but it is getting better. We know we've still got the mana bug, which is kind of worse than it was before, but you see it way less often. Hopefully that'll get fixed soon. The devs are working on that. One thing that frustrates me a little bit is that we've had so many sort of outside of the gameplay issues that have to be fixed, like really crucial things, that a lot of the gameplay issues are not getting addressed. And that kind of frustrates me, because we've had bugs that were discovered in day 1 of 2.0, things like the Prowler going at 1,000 miles an hour, the Musketeer, things like that, that are still in the game months later. And that kind of frustrates me. The biggest issue at the moment is the Storm Tamer. We know the Storm Tamer can disable minions, and it does it quite regularly. How much that affects the game, I don't know, but it's kind of frustrating, because, you know, almost in every game that you have a Storm Tamer, you're going to see some minion disabled. Interestingly, today I found out, and you know, I haven't tried this, and it's very difficult to do because it relies on your opponent, but if you have a minion that gets disabled by the Storm Tamer, if it gets, I'm going to assume stunned, in my example that I saw, it was a Chain Lightning, but if it gets stunned or Chain Lightning, it kind of gets defibrillated and just zapped back into life. I had a Caliph that was stunned doing nothing from the bug, and then it got Chain Lightning, and he was back. So I mean, you can't do that yourself. You kind of need to bait your opponent into doing it, but just a little bit of fun and games there. Anyway, that's all I wanted to discuss today. My name's Bad as Fish, and I'll see you again soon here in the fish tank. It's a left-handed wave. Might be the first time.